New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the Sunday services at Center for Spiritual Living, Denver. We are a loving and prospering community in the heart of Denver and online. We now conduct hybrid services at the historic Grant Avenue Community Center and Sacred Place, located at 216 South Grant Street, Denver, Colorado. All are welcomed here. A place, space, and face of love. We are a spiritual community practicing universal principles that enrich our lives. We are grateful that you have blessed us with your presence. While online, we'd love to know you're watching with us. Feel free to leave a comment and let everyone appreciate you. With everything going on, life can feel overwhelming. CSL Denver wants you to know we are here for you. Please know that our practitioners are available for personal prayer work. Our licensed spiritual practitioners' names and phone numbers are available on our website at csldenver.org. Or if you have a prayer request, feel free to email it to info@csldenver.org. For your convenience, you'll find clickable links in the description of this broadcast. Rev L. Zia, along with all our guest speakers, practitioners, service coordinators, and musical inspirations, want you to know how truly grateful we are that you are with us today. Thank you for your continued support and participation in our services, workshops, and events, as well as providing financial contributions to our center. If you're interested in upcoming events and information, we send out weekly newsletters. Sign up by visiting www.csldenver.org. We deliver services in a hybrid format where we meet in person at 216 South Grant Street. We will also continue to live stream all services on Facebook and YouTube every Sunday. Find us on our respective channels as well as on New Thought Media Network. Again, thank you for your precious attention. Now prepare for engaging enlightenment.
There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden where God's grace blooms. There is a garden where everything grows, a beautiful garden where love is sown. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden. That garden is you. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true. A beautiful garden, that garden is you. Such a beautiful garden, that garden is you.
Beautiful music. Oh, on this beautiful Sunday Easter morning. Thank you for everyone being here and being present. I'm Bill Carlton. I'm a practitioner here at CSL Denver. I invite you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and release all the negative emotions. Just be present in this beautiful world. We feel that oneness of God surrounding all of us and leading us to embrace the changes in our lives. We know that oneness is present in the message we receive, the music we hear, the technical support of Reverend Paula, Reverend Michael, and Diego, our producers. I know each and every one participating and attending this service is blessed. I am grateful and give thanks for all that has brought us here in this moment. We release these words to the universe, knowing that they return to us tenfold. And so it is. Wake up is the essence for this service. Our awareness of the oneness with the universe, our planet, and every blade of grass inspires and guides us in the enrichment and changes in our lives. Resistance can manifest fear, doubt, or simply clinging to the past. Open up to the growth. Be one with that growth in the gratitude. Wake up. Your world is all powerful. Your consciousness is one of impotence. Your thought is infinite. Your destiny is eternal, and your home is everlasting heaven. That's from Ernest Holmes in The Creative Mind, page 69.2. Our individualized universe is forever complete, yet forever completing itself, in order that every experience may teach us to transcend some previous one. In ever ascending cycles, upward bound. Another one from Ernest Holmes in Science of Mind, 336.2. Don't go back to sleep. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep, by Rumi. And now, a little bit of music from Susan Clark. Thank you.
Hello, CSL Denver, and to any of you who might be watching us either now or later online. My name is Susan Clark, and I am here to provide some special music for your service today. I picked out a song by Janice Stanfield, and she's one of my favorite New Thought writers, performers. Some of you might remember years ago when we were in Humboldt, Janet came to visit us and gave us a little concert after the service. So I got a chance to meet her personally and work with her. She was in Denver at the time, and I was in Denver at the time, and we were able to connect. And now she's off in remote parts of the world, bringing her special inspiration to underprivileged children, different areas. This song is called Butterfly. It's my butterfly. Sitting alone on a hillside, confused about what to do. My choices were all complicated. It was time to think things through. I spotted a striped caterpillar stretching her face to the sky, then dragging her cumbersome body an inch at a time. I was feeling the pain of slow progress when a friend of hers fluttered by. As I leaned close, the caterpillar spoke with a voice as soft as a sigh, and she said, "Butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be all So butterflies remind us there's magic in every life. We can become what we dream of if fat, fuzzy worms can fly. So I say, butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be alright. I can feel the changes coming. I can feel it in my skin. I can feel myself outgrowing this life I've been living in. And I'm afraid to change. So butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be alright. And on the day of my last breath, I expect to see angels like butterflies over my head. And I'll say, butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be alright. I can feel the changes coming. I can feel it in my skin. I can feel myself outgrowing this life I've been living in. And I'm afraid of change. So butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be alright. Butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be Thank you.
You know, they taught us in school to never leave the screen blank, so I was a little slow there. It is so good to be here, CSL Denver. You know, whenever I return here, I do feel like I'm coming home because both myself and Reverend Z, we literally cut our little baby minister teeth here with your community. So very, very grateful to be here again. And on this beautiful spring day, oh my goodness, happy spring, everyone. We have a lot of traditions celebrating so many things right now. Our Muslim friends are celebrating Ramadan, and this is a very sacred and holy time for them. Each and every day of Ramadan, for 30 days, they are fasting between sunrise and sunset. I don't know if Rev Z still does that, but when he was in school with me, he still did that. So I've always admired that he was like not eating and we're pigging out in front of him in school. And anyway, he held fast. So that's a very sacred time. And then our Wiccan and nature friends, they're celebrating spring renewal, and they were celebrating resurrection of life way before the Christian tradition ever did, right? And so they just had spring equinox, and here they are celebrating that. Well, you know what? Here in Denver, it takes a little bit longer for us to see it. And up where I live in the foothills, even longer. But we know it's here, right? We can feel it. We can feel it. Absolutely. Yes. And then also coming up on April 20th, our Jewish friends will be starting Passover, week of Passover, which is also their holiest time of the year. So very, very important. That along with Rosh Hashanah, two big times for them. So today what I'm going to do is actually introduce to you a new perspective to look at the Christian tradition and the idea of resurrection. So we're going to just kind of take us, how many people grew up with that story? The story of Jesus died on the cross for our sins and our inequities. And then 3 days later, he rose from the dead magically out of a tomb that he probably couldn't afford. So anyway, we'll talk about that and see if I can't invite you into a different way of looking at that. And again, please understand, I mean no offense to our friends that practice and look at Christian traditions from a more traditional way. We're just going to take a look at it from a new thought perspective. Is that okay with you? All right, great. Wake up. Your word is all powerful. Your consciousness is one of omnipotence. Your thought is infinite. Your destiny is eternal, and your home is everlasting heaven. Bill read that earlier for us, and I'm going to put it in a couple of times during this talk. That's from Ernest Holmes, who actually is the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living. Back then we were originally the Religious Science Institute, and then we became the Church of Religious Science, and then we became United Church Centers for Spiritual Living, and now we're Centers for Spiritual Living. All started with that man, Ernest Holmes. So today we're going to take a look at both the historical Jesus and also the Jesus that was one of the first and most magnificent recognizers of their own divine internal being, their absolute connection with the infinite, their spiritual connection. And what was then the Roman imperial province of Judea? Now, this is around 30 CE, we say these days. That's the politically correct way to say common era. Not error. Yeah, common era. Common era. And he was this new rabbi, and he was possessed of great charisma. And he had some very revolutionary ideas about traditional Jewish teachings. Now, to set kind of the context for you, in those days, the Jewish tradition was very orderly, and it was very much a caste system. There were certain areas that you might have been born into, and you were never going to get up to where the priests are, the Levites are, etc. Again, this is not an offensive look at the Jewish tradition. That allowed order to come into humanity at a time when it needed it. But Jesus came along and said, there's more. I believe in the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law. And so he radically offended a lot of people. He did it regularly. And here's what's interesting. You know, he was called the Messiah, the anointed one. But I want to give you a historical perspective of what that actually means. The anointed one was actually a title given to leaders. When the Roman emperors became emperor, they were considered to be Messiah, the anointed one, and they suddenly became God. And so much of what started about Jesus becoming God, and of course that really he didn't get that 400 years later at the Nicene Creed when they developed that. That's when they actually started saying that he was indeed the Son of God. But there's controversy amongst theologians, and especially historical theologians, as to whether Jesus ever truly called himself the Son of God. You might say, but wait, John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. Surely you mean that? Well, guess what? John was the last of the Gospels ever written, and likely not written by John. Likely it was written by followers of John, because most of the disciples were actually illiterate. They couldn't write or read. Some of them could, but most of them no. So when we hear Gospel of Mark, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, it is followers of their particular oral tradition, the story that they told, the perspective they gave of Jesus. So when John said this, you got to remember that John was the most mystical one of the bunch. When he's saying this, he's speaking much more from a mystical point of view, the same way we understand. Now, none of us think that we are all God, that we're God, 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 God. We are expressions of God, and God lives within us, right? I believe that truly is what Jesus came to find out about himself. And so, regardless of whether or not he's the Son of God, or as he often referred in the earlier synoptic gospels to himself as the Son of Man, he is still a deliverer of freedom to people, and not just the Jewish people. Although that was his first concern, because why? He wanted to change the Jewish tradition. He wanted to bring it alive, but he wanted to include everyone. John Shelby Spong says this, I love this. On Easter, the crucified Jesus, who was laid in the grave as a deceased man on Good Friday, was by the mighty act of God restored to life on Easter. He had thus broken the power of death for all people. If the body of Jesus was not physically restored to life, the fundamentalists claim, then Easter is fraudulent. There can be no compromise here. Those who waver on this foundational truth of Christianity have, according to this perspective, abandoned the essential core of their faith tradition. Well, my only comment on this would be to borrow the words from an old song and say, it ain't necessarily so. We studied John Shelby Spong a lot when we were in school, along with Marcus Borg, who gave us a very different perspective of Jesus. But I have been doing that again. I've been going back and reading Meeting Jesus again for the first time. That's written by Marcus Borg. Fantastic book, talks about historical perspective. I've also been studying a man by the name of Dr. Bart Ehrman, and he is the theological professor at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And he really brings a different idea to things and has really just broadened my mind. And what's great for me is this has allowed me to embrace Jesus in a way I haven't been able to in years. You know, I would kind of cringe. Anybody want to admit that? You'd hear, praise Jesus, and doesn't it just make you kind of go like that? Yeah. And I'm like going, geez, what's going on here? Right? When in reality, it wasn't even about that. It wasn't about that. So this comes from Dr. Bart Ehrman. During his lifetime, Jesus himself didn't call himself God and didn't consider himself God, and none of his disciples had any inkling at all that he was God. So whether or not a person embraces Jesus as the Savior, no one can deny that he changed history more than any other human that has walked this planet. We have a calendar built around him, right? A calendar that some traditions still go, I don't care when it comes to our holy time, we're going to follow our calendar. And you know what? They have every right to do that. Absolutely. And I'm grateful that they do that. But in general, in the business, corporate world, and the everyday living world, we agree that the calendar is the one that was brought on when they were trying to convert everyone to Christianity, right? But we left just enough paganism and Christianity to make it palatable to the people we were trying to convert, right? Yeah, that's kind of fun. See, I want to talk about the three gifts of Christ. First, we're going to talk about his life. His life. He brought in radical new ideas. He said to love your neighbor, all of them. He included everybody as your neighbor. That included the Samaritans and the Gentiles, people that were not within their system, right? He included all of them. One of my favorite things whenever I go to a CSL, when I see that all are welcome here, it makes me so happy because it goes way beyond the LGBTQ community. It goes to everyone. Everyone is welcome. And I love that because we cannot get more true Christian than that. It's impossible. Jesus disclosed that God is compassionate. Jesus spoke of God this way, be compassionate as God is compassionate. Compassion is the primary quality of the central figures in two of his most famous parables. And you're going to know these. We're just going to review them and kind of take a look at just how radical they were. One of them is the prodigal son, and the other one is the Good Samaritan. So most of us know the story of the prodigal son. And this is the other thing. We all accept that parables are not factual, but they're full of truth, right? Could we not embrace the idea of Jesus dying on the cross for all our sins and rising 3 days later the same way? It's a parable. Hello? The man who is the king of parables gave us one final parable, and we turned it into something that's true. Now we know, as I'm going to tell you the story of prodigal son, it's not true, but it's true. Big T true, not little t true, right? So basically, a son received his inheritance early, right? He went off and spent it, lived a life of excess, had a great time, I'm sure, you know. Have a good time, dude. And he got broke. He went broke. And so he basically had to go to work for a pig farmer. Now, any of you, I know one right here that has Jewish tradition, you can't get any more of a lowly job than to work for a pig farmer. That's swine. You're touching pigs every day. And remember, this idea of cleanliness and all of that, it kept that Jewish tradition alive. It kept the Jewish people alive when other people would die of food poisoning in all sorts of manner. So yes, it was a gift. And Jesus was saying, in some ways, it's not so much. Because remember, he was Jewish. People seem to forget that. He was very Jewish. He was steeped in Judaism. He studied it. So anyway, he goes to work for a pig farmer. That's bad, lowly existence. The son returns and the father sees him off in the distance. And he immediately runs out there to greet him, right? He hugs him immediately, right? Puts a robe on him, ring on his finger. He says, prepare the fatted calf. His son has returned. So he's real happy and he had this big party and everything, right? And the son's kind of like, I was trying to apologize and he kind of blew me off back there. And the father is saying, you are home. Now, the other brother, who'd been the good brother, right? He'd stayed by his father's side and done everything. He got pretty irritated by this. And he did not want to attend the feast. So there's so many little subtle images in there and so many beautiful metaphors in there, you know, that this guy wouldn't come to the party when you know, Christ has been teaching. All are invited. Even if you feel snubbed, come, eat. And also the son, right? And so we know that no matter where we go, where we travel, we are welcomed home in the same manner. Good Samaritan, this is the guy that got robbed, right? So he was traveling and he fell among robbers and they beat him and departed, leaving him for dead. And a priest was going down and the priest saw the man. Now, got to remember, again, the laws of cleanliness at this time. He was a priest. If he got anywhere near that man, he would be considered unclean. So what does he do? He crosses the road and he goes down the other side. Along a little bit later, a Levite, same thing. That's one of the highest tiers in the tribes of Judaism. He comes by. He doesn't want to become unclean. He walks on the other side of the road, goes on by. Then a Samaritan. He saw the man and he took great pity on him and had compassion. He was moved with compassion, is what Scripture says. And he went to him. He bound up his wounds. He took him to an innkeeper and said, take care of him. Here's some money. And on my return, I will give you anything you had to spend on him. And so Jesus at the close of this says, who showed him mercy? And they said, well, the guy that took care of him. And he said, go and do the same. So he's telling people to touch people that they think they're not supposed to, that they're actually violating law in their tradition. But he's saying, go to them, care for one another. This is extremely radical at that time, extremely radical. It's kind of like when we first started as a movement and we said, I don't think Jesus was born of a Virgin Mary. Right? When we all began those ideas, it was very radical. And in fact, I still have friends that if I mention that, I have colleagues that have gone to seminary, other traditions, they got masters and doctorates, and they still think that's true. And I just go, what? But yeah, so anyway, it's that same kind of radical idea where we get that same sort of, what are you talking about? Same kind of deal. He was radically changing not only spiritual law, but cultural norms at that time. And again, he still was Jewish and thought of himself as a Jewish person. And this was just totally unheard of. And the Samaritan, by the way, that took care of the guy, half Jewish, half Gentile. Yeah, you remember about 50 or so years ago when if a black person married a white person, how that was frowned upon? I wish I could tell you that it's still not frowned upon by some people, but it is. And it breaks my heart because right there we have a Samaritan in my mind. The man who took his feeling of compassion and acted on it. Acted on it. Wake up. It's Easter. He gave us 2 amazing commandments that if anyone, whether you're Christian or not Christian or anything in between, could live by, I think this world would change for the better. Love the Lord your God, however you define God, with all your heart, all your mind, and all your body. And number 2, love your neighbor as you love yourself. See that as? I see it in capital letters. That as absolutely assumes that we love ourselves, that we take care of ourselves. So Jesus, in that little bitty, those 2 statements, included everyone. He included the infinite, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it. He included self, and he included other. It's funny because I didn't realize it until I was actually writing this message that, oh my God, my entire CPE theory that I teach clinical chaplains is based on a circle that's awareness of self, other, and relationship. Oh my God, I just got it. All that time, that was a subconscious. I saw it from a different angle, but now I see it. It's always been in there. It's always been there. So even if you do not accept Jesus as the Messiah, no one can deny his life, his compassion, his love for humanity, the outcasts and the marginalized. How many of us have ever felt like an outcast or marginalized? Yeah, right? I have. He revealed a God whose love we do not have to earn. We simply have to be with it. We simply have to accept it. And it's not about following letter of the law or all the rules, but meeting requirements or meeting requirements. It is about a life that is a banquet that welcomes everyone. Gift number 2, his death or his humanity. You can call it either one. Right now in your body, billions of cells are dying, right? And approximately 60 billion cells die in your body and my body each and every day. Every day. We are constantly experiencing death. But are we dead? Right? Interesting. Well, Jesus struggled. We see a lot of that even in Scripture if you look deeply. He was, I'm sorry, not a perfect human. He was perfectly human. And he felt things. He got angry. He felt betrayal. He felt betrayal by both Judas and Peter. He experienced shame, blame, being beaten, mocked, all because his message threatened those in power. Now, here's the thing. One man believing and saying those things didn't really scare the Roman Empire. Big deal, right? A little ant on the side of me. But when he started getting followers, that got their attention, because a man who was spreading these kinds of truths that had followers was scary, and that threatened them. His death by crucifixion indicates that it was an execution by Rome. You see, they saved it as a form of capital punishment for the worst of the worst. He may not have, in the eyes of the people that were following him, dethroned the Roman empires, but I believe his death did do that. I believe the fact that he went through all of that dethroned them in a different kind of way. Jesus was stripped naked. That was to increase both the pain of the beating, but it was also to humiliate him. He was handcuffed to a post naked. Now, nowadays we'd look back and we'd say, well, that's not only physical abuse, that's sexual abuse. They're totally stripping him naked, humiliating him in front of a crowd. They used a weapon of torture called a flagrum. That's a really neat thing. It's a long piece of wood and it has leather straps on it, and embedded in the leather straps are things like pieces of glass and nails. So literally when you hit someone, it grabs the skin and rips it off. He was beaten over and over and over again. And it was done by the Romans. See, when the Jewish people punished someone, they only hit them 39 times. There was a reason for that. 39 is before 40, right? 40 is completion. Yeah? 39, this is incomplete. Why? Because they trusted God would take care of the rest, right? So with the Romans, they had no limit. And so if one guard who's beaten out of somebody got tired, the other guard took over and started beating them. And this happened to Jesus. And oftentimes the victims of this would have tremors, vomit, shake uncontrollably because they were hurting so badly. It is terrible. How many of you saw The Passion of Christ, that movie by Mel Gibson? Very true representation of what happened. That makes me cry every time I see it, right? Yeah. So they put stakes, drove them through his wrists and his ankles. And he was stripped, hours laying in the sun, with the sun beating down, thirsty, hungry. And that wasn't the worst part. When they hang you, you literally are hung like this. You don't usually die because of the wounds and the bleeding out and all that. You die of suffocation. Why? Because to take even a breath, you have to push off from your feet to raise up to be able to take a breath. And he couldn't do that very easily. So he literally died of suffocation. So for those of you that have suffered abuse, I'm sorry that that happened to you. I would invite you to remember the man that changed the world with his ideas suffered abuse too. And it doesn't make it any more right for you to have felt that, but it does make us aware that someone who was that aware innately of his divinity and the divinity in all of us also hurt. So I ask you, what's dying in you? What needs new life? We are always dying to the lesser to make room for the greater continuously. We are always dying to the lesser to make room for the greater. Wake up and give a new meaning to Easter. Gift number 3 is resurrection, his new life. Remember those 60 billion cells that are dying in your body every day? Well, the good news is 330 billion of them are being birthed to take their place. In 80 to 100 days, 30 trillion cells will be essentially a new you every 80 to 100 days. My question is, if it can do that, why can't it get rid of my wrinkles? I would really like to know about that. Yes, I want you to entertain that you are constantly resurrecting too. And physically, we're always doing it. And if we also do it consciously from our spiritual being, we can have an amazing experience of life. We can have great compassion for others that aren't at that point, right? Yeah. Did Jesus rise from the dead? Do you believe that? I think he rose in certain ways for sure. Believe what you want about that, but don't be distracted by that. Don't be distracted by that. What is Easter really, really about? A better question, what did Easter mean to the followers of Jesus? What did it mean to them? You see, they continued to experience Jesus after his death. They did, right? They saw him. Now, I have to tell you that my mother and my father have been dead for a long time. They come to see me in my dreams on a regular basis. I see a dove and I feel close suddenly to my mother. So who's to say that if it wasn't a physical body, that they had visions of their great mentor, their great rabbi, that they revered so much. And it changed people. It changed Saul to Paul. He became one of the most deliberate and conscious leaders of the new movement called Christianity. And so it meant something to them that they kept experiencing him. And some people would, they're just visions. And just visions? Come on. Visions are amazing. I happen to work with people that have all kinds of visions every day. They're in a certain little place we take care of them for. But I'm talking about those of us that don't have to be in that situation. Many of us have visions, and they're amazing. And you can't tell any one of us that have experienced one of those that it's just a vision, right? Just a vision. Yeah. His message did not die. It cannot die. And you cannot find the true message of Jesus anywhere in the land of the dead. It's impossible. I call you not to believe in the traditional Jesus, rather to change both your idea, first of all, of belief. Believe originally comes from a Greek and a Latin word, but the original word means the same thing. Belief doesn't mean, oh, you accept that as fact. Believe means to take into one's heart. So I invite you this Easter Sunday morning to take into your heart a different and new perspective, a new life of the idea of Jesus. And I also ask you to participate in his life, because it's already within you. That Christ, the same Christ that lived within him, lives within you. It is only waiting for you to wake up. To wake up. Wake up. Your word is all powerful. Your consciousness is one of omnipotence. Your thought is infinite. Your destiny is eternal. And your home is everlasting heaven. Thank you, Ernest. I appreciate it. Let's take a moment and we're going to pray. In this moment, I remember that there is one power and one presence that I choose to call Spirit, God, the infinite. And it is that which is animating all life everywhere present. It is that life and that livingness and that lovingness back of all life, in, through, and as all life. And I know that it is that which animates me and is speaking through and as me right in this moment. And as I know this truth for myself, I know it for each and every person within the sound of my voice and those we hold dear, and for those that we might not hold so dear. Because in the words of Jesus, we include all. The banquet is for everyone. And so I just speak my word on behalf of everyone, knowing that this Easter Sunday is the opportunity to say, yes, I am awake. I am awake to the possibility. I am awake to a greater life. I step forth in life renewed, and nature all around me reflects this back to me. I know right now that new life, that God life that has always been present within each and every one of us, is alive and present and awake in, as, and through each of us. And I know it simply blesses all relationships, all of our affairs, and all of our needs are taken care of. I give great thanks for this gift, the three gifts of Christ. Yes, life, death, and resurrection. I give great thanks for this time together and the power of prayer. For this and so much more, I say thank you. I release this word now into the law of mind, to the law of heart, and I simply let it be. And together we affirm this by saying, and so it is. Thank you.
Sorry, blink screen. Thank you so much, Reverend Paula. It was just an awesome talk. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it again just to get a whole new perspective on the whole resurrection. Exactly, Jesus. So we are so grateful and thankful for everyone's support of CSL Denver, whether it's in time, treasure, or talent, and especially during this time of change. We have a lot of that going on. So whether this is your first time here or you are a returning community participant, we want to thank you for your continuing financial support of the important work we are striving to provide. Right now, there are several ways you can make your financial contribution to Center for Spiritual Living Denver. This information is running along the bottom of the screen. You can either donate by the text to give or go to our website and click the donate button, or mail a check to our P.O. box. I have to remember all that stuff. So anyway, if you would just hold your hands to your heart, whether you have a gift or not, just knowing that you are the gift. And please repeat with me our affirmation. This perfect gift is spirit in form, circulating and blessing all that it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive, and so it is. Amen. And we just have a few announcements. Next Sunday, right after service, we have meditation and our coffee social. So Sunday, April 7th, right after the service, we have a short meditation, and then we circle up and have a meditation, and then we just have a discussion about what came up maybe during the meditation, or just anything we want to discuss, and have some fellowship, and just make a connection and increase our community. And we have older Science of Mind magazines over here that are for free. And then we also have the newest, the latest and greatest of the Science of Mind magazines, the March and April one. And those are $4. And so you're welcome to put money in the jar and take those home. And if you would like to hear some good news of the world, to affirm the good in the world, we have a link on our Facebook page called And Now the Good News. This program is put together by New Thought Media Network and airs on Fridays at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, or you can watch these anytime during the week. Just go to the Center for Spiritual Living Denver Facebook page and click on anything that says And Now the Good News. So it really helps. Reverend Robert does a really great job with those Friday things. New Thought Media Network has over 40 hours of weekly broadcast programs. There's prayers at 8:15 a.m. and p.m. There's Spanish programs. There's just all kinds of stuff on there. And so there's something for everyone. And we are so truly blessed by everyone who has chosen to support CSL Denver, whether it's in time, treasure, or talent, coming here, or just holding us. And it's so awesome to just see, we're gonna need to bring more chairs in. Oh, that's right. That's right. We've got a movie coming up, and we think it's going to be Saturday, May 18th, and it's our Cinema for the Soul. But we're just going to confirm with the person who runs the building here to make sure. But it's called Hector and the Search for Happiness, and it's a sweet movie, and it just is a really nice. So it's by Love Offering. We'll have some water, and again, we'll just have some discussion after the movie, but it's just a really sweet movie. So we'll start putting that on our Facebook page and advertising that. So I believe that's it, and let's just close out with some Karen Drucker, and I Am So Grateful.
Hey, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all that